get my thing in action. To work, to play, to live, to
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Area 312 Rock and Metal Podcast. And friends, today we have brothers Dale Thompson and Troy Thompson of the legendary band Bride. They just released their 19th studio album, Are You Awake? And we're going to take a deep dive into that today. Dale and Troy, welcome back. It's an honor to have you.
Hello. 19, but who's counting, right?
That's right. So Dale and Troy Thompson are with us today, friends, and I'm one of your hosts, Kent, and I've got my co-host with me,
Rex.
And Rex, introduce our guest host today.
Well, our guest co-host, his name is George Wright, and we met up at the Bloodgood White Cross concert at the BMI Event Center in February of 2022, and then we both went to Immortal Fest down there last September. And we just love music and just became good friends and just kept corresponding. And George is a graphic designer, and he's done some stuff that maybe I'm not sure people realize, but he's done some designing of the cards for Girder Music. He's a serious collector of not just music, but other items. And I'm just going to let George kind of take it from there and kind of introduce himself to everyone.
That's kind of dangerous, giving me the open mic. Yeah. Well, I guess with the cards, I was telling Kent a little bit earlier that I didn't design the whole backs. It was kind of a thing where Greg and I were talking one day on the phone, and he said, "Hey, would you like to, I'm not really happy with this little layout. Would you like to give it a shot?" So I kind of designed the little legacy part. So it's a very minute, piece, but it was fun. It was fun working with Greg on it and everything. And, he gave me free rein. But, yeah, I mean, it just kind of fit right in with what I was doing because I, collect a lot of cards anyways. I collect too many things.
Well, that's very cool, George. And I know that included Keith Green and Striking and Scattered Few, Union of Sinners and Saints. I also know, like Rex and myself, you're a huge Bride fan. And that's why we're here today with the brothers Thompson. So, guys, let's talk about this new album, Are You Awake? From start to finish, Dale and Troy, first question, how long did it take to complete Are You Awake? When did the recording process for this begin?
That's a good question. I can't remember when we started. The album's been finished a very long time, and we've just been waiting for it to be released.
Yeah, the actual writing of it, the music and stuff, was probably about 3 or 4 months. That's probably all it took. But by the time we sent it away and had it, mixed and mastered and back and forth, but mine and Dale's part probably took about 3 or 4 months.
On this album, Alexandra Aposson is back on drums. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing. He's been drumming with you guys since Snake Eyes that I know. And then Nanel, he is produced and mixed Snake Eyes and Here Is Your God. He played bass, on those. He is producing this album. And then Greg Campbell, is he somebody new that you guys became friends with that played bass on this album?
Greg is my bass player in the Boondocks.
Okay.
Yeah. So he asked if he could play some tracks. So he did play about half the album, I think, maybe a little bit more than half. We brought him on a little bit late, I guess. So he wasn't able to do all the songs, but he did a fair amount of the songs.
Well, there's some really neat bass parts in there, and I love his tone. Now, Dale and Troy, whereas you two had produced Snake Eyes, Nanel has produced production credit on Are You Awake? And so my question then is for Bride, what does production entail to get the most out of the players? And is it more difficult to self-produce or to allow somebody to produce the new album?
We pretty much are Troy and I are in, you know, complete control of the album. So it's, if he does something that we like, we say keep it. If we don't like it, we say change it. So more or less with him as producer, I guess it's whoever got their name to the typesetter the quickest. But yeah, I mean, because it really didn't matter. I mean, we did all the post production. Nobody was with us during the post production except Troy and I, and we build the songs. Troy comes up with all the parts, and then we send them to Brazil, and then they interpret what it is that we're looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it runs something like that, and I think he's pretty much he's more of an engineer than a producer. You know, he's our engineer guy, make us sound good.
But he's got a really good ear for Bride and what we do. Normally, he hits the mark pretty straight up whenever he submits something for Dale and I to listen to. Normally, he's pretty close. We always have tweaks, but in the end, as Dale had mentioned, I didn't even know he was producer on this album, to be truthful. Who got credit for that, because in the end, it is the two of us that has the final say on all aspects of it.
So you guys kind of tell him what you're kind of looking for sound wise, and then he tries to do that, and you guys more or less say yes or no and have final approval on how things come out.
Absolutely. That's exactly how it works. And doing it remote is a lot different than everybody being in the same room. It takes a lot more effort and time, shipping things back and forth. And there's a bit of a language barrier. Of course, you know, his native language is Portuguese, so we will tell him exactly what we want. Sometimes it gets through perfectly the first time, and other times just several times going back and forth with tweaks. But all in all, he's really good at knowing what Dale and I are thinking.
Well, he did a brilliant job too on Here Is Your God. I know he did the engineering, mixing, and mastering on that. So kudos, Nanel, for what you do. Troy, you kind of started to address my next question. The recording process, and with people kind of being in remote locations, does that begin with you? Like, I know that Dale is the primary lyricist in the Bride canon, and you are the primary music creator. Do you record the base of the song, meaning rhythm and melody, by yourself, or are you able to connect with Alexandre to get those drums nailed down on the beginning tracks?
No, we have no contact with the bassist or guitar player or drummer when the song's being written. It's all me and Dale. I put down a drum loop, and it just loops. And sometimes I'll try to be creative, not being a very good drummer myself, but I will show intensity. Like, this part of the song needs to be half time, double time. It needs to be, you know, like lots of cymbal, lots of stuff, just to give people an idea of the dynamics of the song. But for the most part, Dale's always got lyrics up his sleeve, always. And he waits on me to start writing hooks, is what we call it. And it may just be a 30-second bridge. A lot of times I try to give him what would be considered a verse and a chorus. And I'll be specific. I'll say, this is how I hear the verse. This is how I hear the chorus. And I'll send it to him. And sometimes he's like, well, I heard it just the opposite. And then we change it. You know, we do this back and forth. But in terms of the music, I submit, you know, a minute at a minimum of a song and say, should we run with this? How far should we take this song? Is it worth pursuing? And that goes back and forth. several times, and he may try out multiple sets of lyrics until we get it right. Or his lyrics, a lot of times I comment, it'll be like, wow, you did this one thing in this one part at like 38 seconds in, you know, it was just killer. Let's work from that. So it's a real give and take, but Dale and I both have done this so long, we have a good ear for knowing what works with each other and how to approach it.
Yes, sir. Now, Dale, when you blessed us, I believe the first interview that you blessed us with, you were talking about, you know, of course, you're a vast lyricist and you have a portfolio. You were talking about your lyrics. Do you draw from that with Bride predominantly, or do you kind of start from scratch with Bride material?
I only use certain lyrics for Bride. I have a Bride file and I have an everybody else file. And like right now, I've got 7 new sets of lyrics that I wrote this past weekend for a new Bride album. So 2024, hopefully we'll have another album recorded. Not that it would be released in 2024 with the snail pace this one moved at, but between 24 and 25, we should have another album out. And yeah, so yeah, if somebody needs a lyricist and a vocalist, you know, I've got stuff ready. So still coming off that, you know, I've done a couple songs since my surgery, so we'll guess we can talk about that later. But anyway, I've trying to get back in the saddle again. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, what did you say the name of the new album, forthcoming album, Bride album, is going to be, Dale?
It's your guess is as good as mine. That's what we're going to call it. Yeah,
I got you.
If I could ask a question, Ken, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead, but who came up or who did the artwork or the idea for the artwork for the new album? I'm kind of curious about this. What does all that mean? If I can ask that.
well, that's actually not the artwork that we agreed on. It's yeah, the original artwork that looks different than what the original was submitted. But anyway, it's the same principle.
Is it
Yeah,
like the,
it's the same principle, but it's a different thing on it. So
I wanted something sparse. I'd send some things to Dale with the giant R and the U and the A and awake. But I'm not an artist, so I was using like PowerPoint and weird things, you know, clip art to try to piece it together. And then Raphael got a hold of it, and he's an actual artist, so he started working with it and submitted a few things. And Dale and I kind of came to a consensus on what we thought looked good. So I'm not disappointed with what was put on the CD, but it kind of evolved a little bit over time, you know.
Well, I mean, you guys know you more than anybody. If I may say, as a fan, gentlemen, I fell in love with this when I saw it.
that's getting both. It's getting both good and bad reviews as far as the artwork goes, because I think people they see stuff like "Here Is Your God" and then they see the Striper album. They see these big, bold, epic looking, you know, what I would consider an 80s airbrush T-shirt album covers. And people get used to that, so they think everything should have a 7-headed dragon on it, or, you know, a sword and lightning from the sky. And I'm like, you know, and that never really appealed to me that much. So let's do something that Pink Floyd would be happy with.
This is wonderful.
Yes.
And it's wonderful because it's good art. Raphael Tavares, my hat is off to you, good sir. This is good art, and it is different, and I absolutely love it.
You know, I don't have a copy of that. So when you held it up earlier, you held up the back side. Yeah, you held up the other side. You didn't hold up either one of those sides. That's weird. Must be my glasses. That is the artwork that I was going. What's that? What turned that one around?
This is the back of the disc, and it has the metallic Bride logo that molten metal.
Too many pain pills. What?
And that's wonderful. I just thought the whole piece was wonderful. And maybe my next question I was going to ask, because in Here Is Your God is down at the bottom of my stack, but Dale and Troy. So Raphael also did Here Is Your God, and that's a beautiful cover too. My question is, whenever you all use Raphael's work, or he does work with you, I should say, Gentlemen, do you all commission Raphael, or does he have a portfolio that you guys choose from?
He sent us some artwork that he's trying to sell, and none of it was what we were looking for. It was good. I mean, because I think other bands have probably used that same artwork now, but this new one, and Here Is Your God, is something that he worked on for us exclusively. So.
Well, and the actual Bride logo, we were all three talking about this before you guys came on. The actual Bride logo is really super too. I mean, it kind of screams metal, you know.
That's from the Kinetic Faith, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
See, we never had a logo, and I kept seeing all these bands with logos. So we never were these gimmicky type. People think we were, but I could have cared less what an album cover looked like, and not a lot of thought in my mind goes into an album cover. But I said, well, probably we need to stick with one thing or the other. And Troy and I are like, hey, that's the coolest one we've had so far. And I don't even know who did it.
I think Matt and Retroactive Records kind of put together some stuff, and we said, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And then the next one is like, well, we used it the last time, let's just keep using it. Yeah.
Well, Tony Thigpen.
This is my favorite Bride logo of the lot.
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, I agree. That's the best Bride logo, I would say.
But on the slipcase, and I didn't bring my slipcase cover, I've got the gold disc edition, but it's got the molten metal look to it. And I love that molten metal. Now, Dale, no offense, good sir. Please don't beat me up. I know you're the weightlifting champion in Kentucky. I'm a firm believer that a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I think, you know, when I see an album cover, that's the first inclination I have, and it ought to be a good representation of what's inside. But again, this is befitting, and the album is heavy. But Troy, you also use we'll get to your virtuosity here in a minute, but some of your electric guitar effects, there's a nice variety. There's some really cranking heavy stuff, and then there's like some airy, spacey tones.
Yeah.
What, if you don't mind me asking, Troy, what type of effects are giving us those airy, spacey tones? And that's part of what fits with this.
I only have a few different tones, and I use an old pedal with my guitar, and I record straight through that pedal instead of using all modern whatever that they have now. It's just a Digitech, an old RP 2000 pedal, and the tones that come with it. And there's about half a dozen that I like to use, and then we'll layer it with, you know, you have one tone and you layer it with another tone, and then sometimes there'll be something behind it, you know, like a violin or a cello or something that's holding down a different note that matches. So you mesh them all together, and then you get a certain tone that you could never reproduce live, you know, exactly. But that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, I like that layering of it.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, from the 80s to the present, there is now 5 decades worth of Bride albums, so to speak. And I remember when I picked up Show No Mercy for the first time in 86, and that was the extent of the Bride catalog. Do these albums seem like your children?
Seem like children that we're adopting out.
Yeah.
We give birth and then we just hand them and they're gone. So
Yeah.
That's why we're already working on another one.
Yeah, it's like when they're out there, I don't know, we've lived with them for so long, you know, from concept to finish and then beyond. I'm like over it by the time it gets released.
I got you.
Now, because another thing with that, I mean, Dale and I could write an album every 2 or 3 months. That would not be a problem, but the market won't support it. The fans would be overloaded. That's why we do all of these remake videos, because we need something to do, you know, and we have all kinds of other projects going on too. We'll mention later, but it's, you know, we did a Christmas, we did a gospel album, we did this, and we've done over 50 remakes. So we're the the hardest working band in the business, I think, in terms of putting out the most material
For the
people
less money. For less money.
Yeah, and plus we shoot videos for all of those remakes, you know, and that all takes time. So we just like to be creative and not stifled. So, you know, we're focusing on this album here in this interview, but we have so much more stuff going on for sure.
And we will get into that, Mr. Troy, in a little bit. And I see that Dale's a man of many hats there.
Yeah. I better plug my computer back in. Oh man, it's gonna be tough.
Oh,
Well, let's talk about some of that creativity then. So for this album, and Troy and Dale, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but at Boone's Overstock, there were 10 ordering options plus the Eyes Wide Open EP. Was this Bride's first album release campaign of this magnitude? And if so, what brought about this wonderful big campaign that you all had for this album?
yeah, that was all Matt.
It's all
yeah.
Matt. Yeah, Matt. It's Matt's madness and genius and all that. He had a plan. I think one of the things too is that we were released a bit late because he didn't want to be in a competition with some of the other bands. I think Stryper had an album out and stuff. So, you know, it's best to kind of release when nobody else has a big release. You know, we're not going against Disciple, The Brave, White Cross, Stryper, the whole lot, you know. So yeah, that was that. Wherever I was going with that. Matt's genius.
So Matt really came up with all the ideas and maybe what was going to be included in each of the bundles. You guys really didn't have a lot of input with that, or did you at all? Or
Well,
Yeah,
it's interesting because I had several conversations with Matt because Dale and I talked about going alone, you know, doing this on our own.
Mm-hmm.
So we negotiated with Matt, and I had all these wonderful ideas about, you know, and I mentioned it to him, you know, and he didn't steal any of my ideas, nothing like that. But I always think outside the box, and I always think about bundling things and coming up with things and like adding extra, you know. So I was telling him my vision, and he didn't, like I said, he didn't take what I had said by any means. This stuff was his, but I think it kind of put a spark, like, you know, this doesn't have to be just a CD, you know. And but we had several conversations, but in the end, he's the one that put together all of those bundles, and we cooperated, and, you know, with the handwriting lyrics and signing tons of stuff and all that.
That must have took a little bit, Troy, I know that there were two available for those handwritten lyrics, and that must have took a pretty good time. And talk about some creativity. Now, guys, Rex and George and I, we've all participated in that campaign. Now I'm the poor one here. I've got 2 children and 2 grandchildren. And so what I had to do, I got the gold disc edition, and I love this album. Congratulations, Dale and Troy and company, for another fine album. I absolutely love it. I got and kudos to you, Matt, for creating that slipcase for the gold disc edition. I did get the gold disc, and what I did was here's a creative way for me as a consumer who's on a budget. When the church offering plate comes around, I put in a 20 and I make change, and I took out 35. So that's my plan. Now, Rex and George, you both participated in the campaign. Rex, share with the brothers what you did, and then we'll move on to George.
Yeah, well, I want to touch on something more about all this marketing campaign too. This EP, Eyes Wide Open, was awesome because we got 2 songs that were not going to be on the CD. One of my questions for you guys is, and I'm assuming I know the answer, were there even more songs that you had completed that are not on this or on the CD?
No.
Okay.
But basically what happens is they want to create LPs now, vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have 14 songs on a vinyl. So they told us when we submitted 14 songs, they're like, we need 12. That's all we need. And you pick 2 that's not going to be on the final release, and we're going to put it on an EP. So I don't know if Dale helped or not. I remember I chose the songs, and I think he concurred. Like these 2 songs, yeah.
The EP was completely, I didn't know what was going on, but I'm way down here, so I get the news later. I don't know.
Well, we told him, but he's in the future, so actually it didn't get
Well, and I don't know how to say this, guys. Like, and I tried to explain it to Kent and George. Whenever I saw that this was going to be like this and have all these bundles, I just knew this album was going to be spectacular. And all these extras, I'm going to show what I got here in a second. It did not disappoint. The album is spectacular. I love it. And I'm not just saying that because we're interviewing you guys. I have told Kent and George both this off camera that this is one of the best Bright albums that I've really enjoyed in a while. And I just love it to death. So I'm going to show, I got bundle number 2, which had everything but the handwritten lyrics. So you've got the cassette here. You know, this is what's really cool. And I put it in a frame. This drawing that you guys signed, and it's numbered. And I actually have number 3. Awesome, Dale. And
That's the original.
The bundle that I got, it came with the signed trading cards, plus the gold disc edition has the possibility of autographed cards, but neither of mine had that. And then I'm not really a vinyl guy, but I went all out for this. Something this told me that this is going to be awesome, and I'm so glad I did. I got the vinyl. I think there's 200 of these. Is that right?
The thing looks massive in the screen. It looks like it looks like it's a flying saucer. It's so big.
And then the poster of you guys is just super cool. I can't quite fit it all in very well, but I mean, that is just awesome, guys. And
should have made a calendar.
Yeah, I am very happy. This whole campaign for the new album, I could not be happier with. I think it's wonderful. I hope you guys do this again. I just love it, and it's just really got my interest in you guys really going again. I didn't have all of your discography, and I went and got the rest from Matt on his store website. So I am loaded up. That is all I have, and we're gonna let George show us what he got.
Well, before I show any of my show and tell, if you want to call it that, I gotta let Troy know. Troy, I missed you by about a day. You were at the Kentucky Striper show, weren't you?
I was.
I was at the Versailles, Ohio one last night.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like 2 ships passing in the night there.
Very close, yeah.
Matter of fact, I was telling Rex and Kent, I just rolled in from leaving at 1:30 in the morning in Ohio, and I'm like running on an hour and a half of sleep and 4 bottles of Mountain Dew. So if I get yapping too much, just do this or tell me to just shut up. The bundle thing, for everybody involved putting it together, it was incredible. One thing you need to know about me, and Rex knows this because we've talked a lot about it. I'm kind of an autograph junkie. So anytime I see anything that's, got any signatures or anything like that, or any collectability, I'll usually go for it. So it's kind of embarrassing, but this was one of the things that I got. The one of one, I guess, is
it's the test cassette.
Yeah, the test cassette, because I figure I've got all the Matrix cassettes, and this is their big brother, so I didn't want to keep the family separated.
Wow.
So got the and of course got that, but Troy might recognize this.
Oh wow, yeah, I do. Matter of fact, that is the paper truly that my daughters, created. They were making paper, they were recycling paper and did that, and then that's the seal that my daughter and I both put on it, wax seal. Yep.
Yeah, let me get that up. There we go.
They make good biscuits too.
That's
Well,
edible. Not really.
You have to make good biscuits.
Yeah.
I went to college in Kentucky, and I'll tell you, they can't make biscuits in New England like they do down in.
Oh,
down
Yeah.
But this one ended up being, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's numbered down there. It was actually one of 100. So it was one of the two mega bundles, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But let's see. I mean, I did get I guess that came with the cards, but I ended up getting one of the signed ones with the gold edition.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
But you guys might be old enough. Do you guys remember Wacky Package stickers from the 70s?
Not right offhand.
They were like
a New England thing.
type things. They were like, instead of Crest toothpaste, there was Crust toothpaste, that type of thing. But
Garbage Pail
Sounds like a
Kids.
contradiction.
yeah. But anyways, this is like a continuation of my childhood, being able to have collector's cards from stuff that I like to listen to.
Yeah.
But
I collected baseball cards.
super.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys did the sports?
Yeah.
Used
you
to
can
be.
Zeke, I was not into sports. I was chewing bubblegum and
But Troy and Dale, we just thought it was so spectacular. Rex and George became friends at Immortal Fest. George is a Bride fan such as we are. And when we found out that George purchased one of two available super bundles, I'll just call them, with the handwritten lyrics that you did, Troy,
Yes.
and your daughters, and please tell us a little bit more about this. We simply wanted Dale, you and Troy to meet George and vice versa, because we just thought that was spectacular, and the chance to talk about that for just a moment. Troy, if you don't mind, your daughter selected that paper, or how did that come about to do that project for this campaign?
I needed to write the lyrics because Dale's hand was not feeling good, before surgery. So I said, well, I'll write the lyrics. And I wanted to do it on something more than just lined legal paper. And my daughters had been making recycled paper that they sell on like their Etsy store and stuff like that. They actually dip the paper, grind the paper, dry the paper. There's a procedure. I don't know what it is. But they donated the paper to me, and it's kind of textured, and it's really cool. So we did that and kind of put it together. And then I wanted to do something special for the outside too, other than just having us sign it. I wanted to put that wax seal on the first page just to make it kind of unique, because my daughter has all these wax kits with all these different colors, and I just thought that was very cool. So, and it took about 2 hours per copy.
really.
Yeah, 2 hours
To write all the lyrics, Troy, is that what you're
Yes.
referring to? Okay, I was wondering about that.
just to write the lyrics. I had to do that, and then Dale, of course, he wrote the lyrics initially, but he sent me all of the copies that was supposed to be. And there may be a few different versions that he actually sang a word here or there differently on the album, but for the most part,
memory problem. Yeah.
Yeah, what he sent me, that's what I put down. And like I said, it was a 2 hour process per copy.
Well, you know what? One of my favorite things of it, and it kind of gives it some provenance, and it also gives it, makes it really unique, is the fact that, and you probably remember this, but at the top, your pen started to run out.
It did.
And then a darker one. I love that. I mean, it just gives it such, a unique feel to it.
I love the pen that I used for that. That's blue ink, right?
It's kind of like a almost a royal blue kind of.
Yeah, and those are great pens because they go on so thick and they're so easy, but they run out of ink pretty quick. The ones that I was using, so I love those pens, but I did run out and it got lighter and lighter. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I grabbed another one. Yeah.
I'm glad you left it though, because I really like, I mean, that just shows that it's something that wasn't, mass produced or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm really, I mean, I'm a recycler. I used to drive my wife nuts with the recycling bit, but the fact that your daughter's recycled paper to make this is
Yes.
like so high up on my, accolades list for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible. And of
Well,
course the burlap with the brass pin too. I mean, it's an all classy piece. It's just awesome.
Yeah, because I even found the burlap. We wanted to do it upright. We wrapped it in the burlap, and then each one had a different clasp pin. It wasn't like we just went to whatever. These are things that we, found in fashion and did it. That wasn't Matt that did those. That's how we did it.
Yeah,
We should,
it's all repurposed, and it's like every little piece of it has a story. Even down to the pen running out of ink.
right, right.
And one thing I think I figured out, when I got this one, there was actually a little bit of cellophane tape here, but then I held it to the light and I realized because it doesn't have a uniform, form to it, it was actually almost coming apart. So I'm like, okay, I'm leaving that on.
Yeah. Yeah, it did the paper on that particular page, I guess, has a little rough with it, and it got brittle at the bottom. And I'm like, I could redo that, but it's just the imperfection seemed to make it unique. So I left it.
Exactly. And that's what, I looked at the tape and I'm like, nope, it's staying just like that. It's perfect.
Yep.
Rembrandt used to do that a lot. Just make a mistake and just say, "I forget about it. I'm leaving it."
Put some Scotch tape on it. Go.
Yeah, just I don't know. Put some black over it. It'd be fun.
Well, Dale and I were connecting in relation to this forthcoming interview, and Dale was talking. I mean, it's been 40 years of Bride now, and he was like, hopefully it can be kind of a one of a kind episode. And I'm thinking this is the ticket right here, because I just thought it was neat. Rex thought it was neat, that George was one of two people that could ever get this package, and then here we are, and y'all get to talk about it, and it truly is a neat thing. Is there an underlying theme with this whole album regarding the title, Are You Awake?
Yeah.
What would that be, Troy?
No. Yes.
Dale, what would it be, brother?
I haven't given it a lot of thought, to be honest with you. What is it, Troy?
Well, actually, I'm pretty sure Dale came up with the title for this year, but my whole thing was this is during the whole woke movement, this whole thing about being woke to social, woke to the world,
right.
Worldly things. What we're asking people is, are you awake to the truth of the gospel, to Jesus Christ? That's what it means. Are you awake? Are you truly awake? Not awake by men's standards of wokeness.
Kind of like a double entendre, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
If I may wax poetic and quote Brother Dale Thompson of Bride here. Here's some lyrics to Are You Awake? These are the prophetic signs of the times. I never run with the crowd. I don't stand so proud. The Lord of hosts is all around. I see you, pulpit snakes. I'm standing at the pearly gates. I'm standing on holy ground. And, gentlemen, when I was thinking about what some of that means possibly, Ephesians 5:14 came to mind, wake up, sleeper, arise from the dead, and the light of Christ will shine on you. That's from Ephesians 5:14. But I had the notes written down. I thought, the term woke is going so rampant out there, and I was kind of wondering and kind of hoping maybe that's what the title was about. So
Dale, salvation itself is about waking up anyway. It's about waking up to whatever you were blind to before. We have a lot of definitions for salvation, but it's basically be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So your mind's got to wake up to the reality that's Christ. You can confess it all you want, but if your mind's still in a lull somewhere, lost in religion or maybe unbelief, it doesn't do you any good. So
get on your knees, stop praying now. Get on your knees, stop praying now. Welcome back to live like kingdom come. Welcome back to live.
Dale, your range is still there. You haven't missed a note. I know you were involved in so many projects. In fact, you just released something with Perpetual Paranoia. Is that your regimen, just staying active with all these projects because your range is still there? Do the notes still come easily for you?
The sing that isn't a hard thing to do. It's just trying to keep up and do, just do, try to be as creative as possible with some validity to what your melodies and stuff, it's after a while you run out of melodies. It's like, I think that's what happened to the Beatles. They just woke up one day and say, Paul, we don't have anything else. It's like, okay, let's quit. So thank goodness that, people are still sending me stuff, to do. And sometimes it comes with their lyrics and sometimes it comes with their melody. And sometimes I find that a challenge because the way they want me to phrase something would not be how I would normally phrase it. And whereas with Bride, unless Troy says, can you phrase that differently? I just run with how I sing it, sing it like Dale would sing it. For a while there, I think I probably made some blunders doing that for bands because I wasn't considering the melody as much as I should have. I was thinking too much about the lyric. And not to name any bands that I sang with that I feel bad that I sang that way, but there's a few songs that I could have did a much better job on than I did. So now I'm taking things a bit slower. Like I'm working on a new Thomas Thompson Earth project, so I'm taking those much slower. First album was a weird album. The next two was decent albums. This fourth one is the bomb. It's a good album. So that's because I'm just taking so much more time with it and not racing through it like I'm trying to record the most songs of anybody in the last 4 years. So
Gotcha. Well, you certainly
if you got money, I'll sing.
Now, Troy, you are the guru of groove, the groove guru, the groove-ru, however you want to say it. You haven't missed a beat. Guitar, piano, cello, and mandolin on this album. Troy, are you a fan of Kansas at all? And the reason why I ask that is because I'm a huge fan of Kansas, and their last two albums, A Prelude Implicit and Absence of Presence. What I find so amazing about this album, it's all Bride, it's all you with the varied instrumentation, but there are elements of prog that remind me here and there of Kansas nuances, and I think that that's awesome.
Yeah, Kansas and Electric Light Orchestra were my favorite bands growing up by far. Yeah, incredible musicianship. I mean, people really playing real instruments. It's just really, it was neat. And my approach to some of this stuff, I'm not as I'm not like a Robbie Steinhardt. I can't play like he can, but I think a lot of times it's the melody, not the complexity, that's added that makes the difference.
Sure, and you're giving it different shades and different textures, and your playing is wonderful, Troy. Here's an example of that. You guys kicked this album off wonderfully with Ain't No Loser. Absolutely love I'm a sucker for good cowbell. I love this song. It smokes. Troy, there's some great pumping piano during the closer, the outro of this song.
Yep.
So as a musician, what signals you within to include varying instrumentation in certain places? Is it instinct that you say, oh, I can hear this piano here?
A lot of times it's Dale. I mean, Dale will be like, I think it was his idea at the end of that, just things just needs to have a piano pound in it. And it's stuff like that. A lot of times, it's his influence with things like that. Other times, it's just whatever I hear, like this would sound better on another instrument with a different texture. But, when it comes to Dale's melodies or lyrics or my music, we both pitch in back and forth. And there's no ego there. It's not like I'm like, oh, well, this is the best guitar riff ever. And Dale doesn't like it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. If Dale says he doesn't like it, there's got to be something to it. You know what I mean? That's the way we've always treated it. We don't question each other so much. Sometimes it's like, I don't really get what you're saying there. But in the end, it's a perfect compromise in how we do things. But a lot of that stuff was Dale's idea, like, oh, we need to have some strings here. We need to have something here that's helpful.
Well, and I think just the song order and opening song, to me, Ain't No Loser is the perfect way to start the album out. That just gets you from the get-go, and you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be smoking.
Well, I was listening to and referencing a lot of Velvet Revolver and Guns N' Roses, and just listening to how Slash just seems effortlessly to come up with super cool guitar hooks that just eat right through and stick in your mind. And I was really trying to go for that with the guitar grooves on this album. I just thought that, you know, he's just an incredible riff writer.
So with Ain't No Loser, and Rex brought about something, do you gentlemen with any given album, and I, you know, like with set lists in concert, I'm sure you all arrange the songs in a specific order for a specific reason or reasons. Do you all do the same thing with your albums?
Absolutely. Yeah. I normally do the song order for all of our albums, and you try to make sure that you look at the key the song is in and the tempo. If two songs are in the exact same key and the exact same tempo, you don't put them back to back. You know what I mean? We take all of that into consideration. And you want to start off with something that's heavy. It's kind of like in baseball, you know, you want to keep following up with something, and then you have to let it breathe a little bit. But the last several albums, you know, I put together the song list, and you know, Dale approves it and says, yeah, this sounds good to me, or doesn't. But I do it based on key and tempo and attitude of the song.
Gotcha. Well, the second song, I Want to Live Again. Troy, let me ask you, I mean, like I said, you're the groove guru. Do these grooves, do they come sporadically, and do you keep a recording device around for whenever they do, or do you set aside a certain time, say at your home studio, for creating and recording?
No, things come to me, and I keep my iPad with me all the time, and I just have this super simple recorder app, and I'll just do that. And if it takes, and I listen back to it again a couple of days later, then I'll come down to the studio and I'll lay it down for real.
Gotcha. Dale, the lyrics, some of the lyrics go, turn or burn, some never learn, they want to play with fire, unconcerned, they never return, walking on the wire, whatever you've been chasing, whoever you've been racing, he always tried to drag you below, I don't want your world of sin, make me want to live again. Dale, what's the meaning there?
Probably when I write a song like that, I have Steve Osborne in mind a lot of times. You know, it's like the Live Another Day type thing. You know, I think that's probably, anytime I write a heartfelt song that has something to do with just somebody just giving up, it's probably about Steve. So he's my go-to to write a song like that. So.
I was thinking about him just today. I was listening to a little bit of Sarbama, and you know, so yeah, remembering Steve fondly. Hammered Down, another great song. Troy, I initially thought there was a harmonica on the intro, but there's not a harmonica on your resume for this album. Is that an octave guitar part?
I can't remember how it starts.
Dale, you've got my favorite lyrics on this whole album in that bridge there, the drumming bridge. I pray to one God, one Lord, Jesus Christ walking on the sea of my storm. So
I probably stole that from a Southern gospel band. Sounds like something that they would come up with. Much wittier than me. Probably the Goodmans or something, you know. I listen to AM radio in the morning, so I get a lot of that type of music.
Well, it's great. I love your delivery on that. 12 o'clock apocalypse, almost a Native American riff going on within. I'm hearing a little bit of that in there. There's that beautiful breakdown with acoustic guitar and mandolin. This album is full of little twists and turns with your varied instrumentation, Troy. And Dale, this begs the question, whenever you're listening to Troy's tracks that he sends you, are you ever surprised by the varied instrumentation and twists? Like you might be rocking along and then Troy takes it to a different place.
No, if he didn't do it, I would ask him what he's doing. Why didn't he send me something interesting? So no, he always, I expect it from him, you know. I mean, he sends me the basics, but then the basics are always more than I need to. I mean, sometimes he'll say, none of this is a keeper. Can you sing to it? And I'll sing to tracks that we won't even keep. And just hope that he tunes the same way when he actually does it. So that's the right key. Don't use a different tuner. We found that out real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Tuners are different in different parts of the United States.
Yes, they are.
Under My Skin, another great song. It's got some of that synthy guitar, spacey and airy in places. The sound matches the cover, and there's more great piano in this song with those Kansas-y vibes throughout, supported with violin and piano. Now, Dale, some of the lyrics, it harkens to Ain't No Loser because it talks about the misfits, outcasts, and undesirables. And you're singing the weirdest of the weird, the queerest of the queer. Bring me the reprobate, the lunatic, the miscreants. Through me meet the screw-ups. Introduce us to Judas. What are you laying down there, Dale, lyrically?
I just pretty much think that ever since I've been in this Christian rock business, as it is, you know, we cater to a lot of the people that don't go to church, that are still Christians, people that don't have a lot of fellowship because they're loners, they like their solitude. Then we deal with the crazy Christians. Like some girl wrote me yesterday and told me I was a heretic and she hated me. So, you know, you're dealing with the whole mindset of screw ups, really, you know, and I think, you know, to know when you got to be one. So I guess I fall into that category a bit. You know, I'm a bit of a hermit. Everybody knows that. Don't knock on my door because I don't want you knocking on my door. And if you call me a few days in advance before you show up. That type of thing. It's not that I think that the people are weird in that regard, but you know, we put labels on them. You know, if you're a misfit, you're a misfit. You know, it's just what it is. And Troy and I talked about that years and years ago about what our ministry was all about. And it wasn't to the church people because they can really be some of the most hypocritical people in the world. It's to those people that's been hurt and broken and torn and pulled apart and come out of bad marriages or come away from the parents not treating them right, things of that sort. And then they fall into drugs, they fall into alcohol. They're still Christians and they're still drinking, they're still doing drugs, but they love Jesus. You know, we're not the ones that's going to point the finger and say, oh, you're going to burn in hell for that. Matter of fact, I'm watching The Chosen right now. It's on the Angel Studios TV thing, and it's called The Chosen. And the Jesus on there is the best Jesus I've seen in ages, to portray Jesus in such a way that his humanity shows through and his friendships with people and how he connects. And I'm at the point now where he's getting ready to, he's made his mind up. He knows it's time and all this. And you can start seeing the character change and the anguish coming on, because Jesus was around all those crazy people too. You know, they come from all walks of life, and I'm sure they bickered and argued and fought in front of him. And, you know, he's like, come on, guys, you know, knock it off. So it's showing exactly what I think in my head that Jesus would have been. He would have been a real person, you know, not somebody that's always walking on water or not always feeding multitudes. Sometimes he was hungry, you know, sometimes he went without food. And he catered to those same people that were hurting just like we do. And if somebody doesn't really like what we do, just move on. Just move on. I don't care. You know, I'm like Ricky Gervais. I don't care. Move on. We're not for you. Somebody goes, I didn't like that song. I didn't write it for you. I'll write songs for Troy and I. If you like it, great. It connects. If it doesn't connect with you, I don't care. Don't tell me you hate it. It wasn't for you to begin. It's not for you to hate. I didn't make this song for you to love or to hate. I'm doing a song for Troy and myself, you know, and then we get clumped out of it, because we bring the best out of one another. So when these people come up, like the people that's been through these terrible things in their life, I mean, they connect with us. They're not the ones throwing the stones. They're the ones that say, this band's real. This band's on fire. These guys love Jesus. That's why I have a problem with a lot of the church folk today. I'm just, shooting it straight. I just have a lot of trouble with church folk, and they know it. And so it's pretty mutual.
Well, Dale,
anyway, that's my spill.
Back to the original question, Dale, what was your favorite flavor of ice cream? No.
Yes, I like vanilla. I've always enjoyed the vanilla. And even sometimes I'll stop at McDonald's and get the vanilla. When I was younger, it was the chocolate, but then we went to that whole Wendy's thing where we were on the road and we're getting the frosty things all the time. I got burnt out on them. That's about the same time I got burnt out on the truck stop coffees with the fake syrupy stuff you'd put in it. I was like drinking that stuff like crazy, and next thing you know, they're like, that's not good for you. So anyway, but it's vanilla. I think that's what.
Okay, yeah, I think it was the original question.
Yeah.
Well, Dale, is it okay that I like the next song, On With the Show? Troy, some of the sights in your mind's eye while developing the intro sound to On With the Show, to me, the beginning sounds like a traveling carnival caravan trek before the song builds. Can you recall the intro to that song and maybe what?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, I even posted a Facebook video about writing that, and I was talking about it. You'd have to go back sometime in my feed to find it, but I actually show myself playing the actual piano that made it on the recording from that.
Okay.
And you're exactly right in terms of it's supposed to kind of be this build into this thing, like, your anticipation of waiting for a show. It's like this little, what they do before, and then it builds to it and just dun, 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 it just really hits you. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm not, you can ask Rex, I'm not so much the Facebook guy. And I try to do everything. I don't want to be influenced, with things. So I try not to look around too much, but mission accomplished, good sir, because I'm picturing this caravan trek, for like a carnival or something, the way it sounds. And then we get into the lyrics and Dale kicks off there.
One God, one Lord, Jesus Christ walking on the sea of my storm. I pray to one God, one Lord, Jesus Christ walking on the sea of my storm.
Dale, I've got to ask you about tripping. I find these lyrics most intriguing. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. And I believe I know who Mr. Kaiser is. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser, for Straight Talk. Larry Norman, where would I be without you? I expect you to be at the pearly gates. It's been a long time. You thought it was all just a phase, but I painted it black, little stones there, dripping in purple haze, a little Hendrix, King's Place, the New Union, and Cornerstone. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser, for setting the story straight. Dale, I'm most curious. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, years ago we played Cornerstone, and I remember I was hellfire and brimstone at people at that time, probably more so than people really wanted to hear, even the real fire and brimstone people. And Glenn wanted to see me after the show, and we sat in a tent and we talked, and he just kind of talked to me about and I didn't know I was doing it, I guess. My agenda was just to scare the hell out of people. So, so I don't guess I approached it with a lot of love. It was more like turn or burn type thing. So Glenn and I, we sat and we talked, and he just, talked about some of the things that he had gone through in his life. But it impacted me to make me start really considering, the love aspect of the ministry and not so much the scare tactics that people use. So yeah, I mean, I think I owe Glenn a bit for that. And plus, that's the greatest Christian rock singer of all time is Glenn Kaiser, without a doubt. I mean, coming from the second greatest rock singer it's ever been, Dale Thompson. So I know what I'm talking about. But no, he really influenced me in the early days. I still want to do a cover of Paint a Picture. So Troy's rolling that around the back of his mind. That's my favorite Res Band song. I know it's one of the old ones. You know, you could do Military Man or some of those, but that's too easy. Let's do something to challenge me. That's a tough song to sing.
Paint a
too.
picture.
Oh yeah, that song, man, it kills me. I don't even know if I can get through it. I've never sang it.
You
never
can do
sat
it,
and
brother.
sang.
You can do
Yeah,
it.
matter of fact, these cover songs that we do, I haven't sang them before that day. So
Really?
I don't know the lyrics to any cover songs at all. I don't know my own lyrics, to be honest with you. I mean, I sing stuff in my head which sound like I should, you know, it sounds right to me, but then you look at the lyrics, you're like, is that what I sang for real? That's not what it sounds like. So I try to open my mouth wider so that I can get the words out, but I don't know. I don't know how anybody understands what I do.
Well, you sound great, brother. You both sound great with what you bring to the band. Dale, let's ask about that hand now. Let's do a show and tell. Let's see the hand. And how is the hand?
The hand is sore. I've got advanced arthritis pretty much through my whole body. So that's one of the big reasons that I don't do a lot of stuff. It's painful to do. You know, some days I'm walking with a cane, some days I'm not. But my hand was operated on. They've replaced the knuckle. They've taken a tendon out of my wrist and put into my thumb to reattach all that, and they cleaned out the arthritis in there. But both hands are really messed up. I've got to have the other hand done. I have to have 2 knee replacements, and I need back surgery because my lower discs are all rubbing on each other. And did I say 2 knee replacements? Yeah. And I need the shoulder redone and this one done for the first time. So I'm like a man that has fallen off a building.
Well, are you taking your chondroitin and glucosamine as you should?
I keep hearing people preach to me about that and turmeric and stuff. And I'll tell you what, I was a power lifter, which is where I got all this damage from. And I boxed for years, and I took that stuff religiously, and I'll not put no more money into it. I was spending, I'll tell you, this is no lie, $400 a month on the supplements alone. Because I was pumped and big and all that stuff. And now I wish that I would have just took that money and put it into yoga classes and just stretched a lot, because it would have made a world of difference.
Now, let's talk about a new kind of yoga. It's rock and roll yoga. So when are you going to come back stateside with your brother and crew and bless us with some Bride in concert? And you can do some stretches live while you're delivering the goods vocally.
I'm in the process right now of liquidating everything in New Zealand. So.
And you're coming back home to us?
Yep.
Yes.
We will be playing some shows hopefully next year. We'll see how
Hard
it
to
goes.
get rid of like that giant doll collection you have, things like that. You know, it's tough.
Some of those things I can't get rid of, man. You know, a doll collection, especially the porcelain ones. They speak to me.
Did
Oh,
he say
shoot.
dog?
So,
What, George?
Did he say dog or doll?
Doll, yeah.
Doll.
Yeah, it's
Wait a
yeah,
minute,
it's cute little things.
pass over that.
You see Bob behind me?
yeah, we saw whoever that was behind you. Well, I'm super stoked that you're coming back home. That's awesome.
Well, the problem that I'm going to have, though, you know, first I've got to be able to buy a house, and then I'm going to have to get some automobiles. Then I've got to get a real job. So I've got to get hired somewhere. And if we play live shows, we'll need extra security, as many people as I have angered while I've been in New Zealand, back home, not ever thinking I was going to see them again. So now they might just come to the show. So I'm going to have to start packing again, I guess.
Working so hard, I have been keeping up my guard. I have been watching night and day. I have been keeping my balance. I have been keeping my head down. I won't stay silent anymore.
Well, in all seriousness, Dale, I hope you know, like a lot of friends that Rex and I talk to, there's a whole lot of people that love you guys. And I hope you don't ever think, Dale, that you're not loved, because you are very much loved. And I want you to know.
Yeah. Well,
So-
we get, you know, it's like when I used to play shows, you'd have 500 people in the crowd and 499 people would be having the time of their life. You'd have one guy for some reason, why he's standing up front for, I don't know, but he's right in front of the stage and he's giving me dirty looks the whole night like he could do it better. Well, my attention automatically goes to that because I'm trying to convince this guy, you're at a good rock show. I want you to enjoy this. So I forget about the 499 people and I'm singing to this cat right there. And it's the same way with with Facebook or anything. You can have, I got several people that write me every day and they pray for me into my messenger for, every day they send me a prayer. And that's fantastic. But then you always get that one clown that writes you out of the blue and says, you're so far off, I cringe when I think about you. And it's just, you can't just brush that off like, water on a duck's back, it's just like, why? You don't even know me. If you knew me, we'd probably still say that, but still give me a chance and get to know me first. So I'll actually go to all the trouble of going back into Messenger to see if we've ever had any communications before that. No kidding. 100% no communications before that. They just thought it was a good day to wake up and try to ruin my day.
Today's Dale Thompson harassment day.
Let's harass Dale Thompson today.
Friends, the Bible does tell us, and this is the truth. It tells us to continue to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. So, if it wasn't for Christ and his sacrifice, there's none of us. All of us, our righteousness are as rags. And guys, really quick, and we'll move along. Some of the other projects you got going on. Let's talk about those.
All right, quickly. The Reconciled, a new album coming out. It's already done. I spoke briefly about the Thomas Thompson Earth project. That is almost finished. I got one more song to write with Garrett. Gary Sullivan and Sovereign Cross is on a back burner right now because he's busy. Oh, who else? Randy Swingle and Thompson Ordain. We're almost finished with the album. He's gone to the Philippines for two months to preach, and he's going to record the rest of his guitar there and then come back and mix. So that'll be sometime later on. Of course, the Perpetual Paranoia, heaviest one I think we've done yet, as far as my singing goes anyway, because I try to sing pretty hard on it, and it's got some commercial flair to it, but it's still what it is. It's pretty thrashy. What else do I have? There's going to be a band come out called Jagged Doctrine. Jagged Doctrine writes fantastic songs. Not that everybody else doesn't, but Jagged Doctrine writes these incredible songs that are so contagious, and I was blessed to be able to ask to sing on that. Crucible Divine, Crucible Divine, they should be releasing a single next week, maybe on Rocks. So that's something I sang on, and that band's pretty loaded with talent, so you're going to like them a lot. Iron 501, whenever Miles wants to release more stuff of the Dapster Haunted, No More, and Iron 501 when he wants to release that. The Boondogs, songs are recorded. It's down in Brazil right now, having drums put on it, and will be mixed soon. So we'll have another Dale Thompson, the Boondogs. Who have I skipped? Somebody, I'm sure, but anyway,
What, Steve? Digital Kill?
Oh, Digital Kill. Yeah. Now I'm going to tell you right now, Digital Kill is not a Christian rock band. Digital Kill is a rock band with Christian members. Steve and I, we approach our Christianities differently. So it's Digital Kill is a monster album. It's eclectic and it's heavy, and it's 9 Inch Nails meets Marilyn Manson meets Tool to all this. It's all this thrown in there, but it's a project that me and Steve wanted to do for a long time. We've actually done 2 albums, but we just released this one. So it's if the cover don't offend you, you'll love the music. So let's put it like that.
And this is Steve Kurtzinger, who was the bassist for Bride for a while.
Yeah, he was also the bassist in Killed by Cain. So
yes, okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, so
the project. The only project that I'm involved with is just Bride. Yeah. and actually we have something coming up, and I don't know when we're going to release it, but I'm super excited about it.
The Polka album?
No, not that one. Yeah.
Oh,
it's we redid, and it's finished in its entirety. We've done it.
Dusted.
Yeah, it is finished. We have remade Snakes in the Playground from front to finish, acoustically. And I've used all kinds of violins, cellos, mandolins. I mean, I think I listened to the whole thing the other day, and it's rocking. I mean, it is so cool. And then we also have, we redid I Miss the Rain. Not I Miss the Rain. We redid Hollywood to go on it, which is off of a Lost Reels thing. And we also put a song that Dale and I forgot even existed that somebody sent us from 1989. And so that's going to be on there. And then I looked up this guy here. If you can see this, I'll try to show you. This tape right here says Bride 1992.
Yes, sir.
You're looking at 31 years ago. This is a cassette tape of a rehearsal of us recording Snakes in the Playground. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the Hollywood on there.
Yeah. So I pulled stuff off of all of that, and it's all going to be on this new Snakes acoustic. And I just think it's really cool.
But
So-
wait, there's more. You buy one, you'll get another one free.
Now,
So-
I have a question about that, Troy, because I saw you guys were posting in Facebook, and maybe you don't want to say right now. Is that going to be a Kickstarter thing, or are you guys just going to release it on your own website?
We've not decided yet how we're going to pursue that.
Well, I'll tell you, we're still praying about that. However the Lord will lead us, that's the way we're going to do it. We're going to leave it to him because he knows what is best for Bride. Sorry, I just had to throw that in.
Yeah, we
I have
talked
to
about
time, too.
several different things. We'll approach it several different ways and crunch numbers and see what makes the most sense. But if you follow us on Facebook, you'll see we've already released 3 of them with a video. We've already released Rattlesnake and Psychedelic and Fallout. So all of the songs are going to be in that vein that we've already kind of given people a little taste of.
I was surprised because instead of using the vocal that I have now to do that project, I literally was able to go back and channel the vocal off of Snakes in the Playground.
Yeah.
And just catch it right out of the, like when you sing, like everything absorbs your vibrations. So I carry around this rock and I sing always with that rock in front of me so that it has all the vibrations of my tunes. And then I was able to set that down when I was doing this new versions of Snakes, and I channeled right out of that rock. It's a pumice rock. You can like sand your feet with it and stuff too. It's volcanic, and you just put that rock right there in front of you, and it's suddenly I sounded like I did 30 years ago. Amazing.
Dale.
Weird.
It's a miracle, Dale. A miracle.
Yeah.
That rock can be yours today for $9.99.
I'm gonna buy me 4 of them.
Here's
I'll
a
sign
question,
one for
guys.
you.
Here's a question. Now, I love this album just the way it is, but I think we've talked about this a little bit. The Kinetic Faith, the way that it was produced, kind of the syrupy sound or the soupy. I mean, have you guys ever thought about, not acoustically, the full Monty, but have y'all ever thought about re-recording that to kind of bring a little bit of that rough edge back to it, maybe?
I wish we could find those 2-inch tapes. If we could find the 2-inch tapes, who has those, we could always remix the thing. But finding a studio now with a 2-inch reel is probably have to go to Nashville, and that's probably where these reels are. But the performances and stuff are there. We could never capture it without Rick and Jerry.
Yeah,
And
that'd be tough.
yeah, that would be
Well,
tough.
It's still a great album, guys. Still a great album. So,
Yeah.
Rex, George, y'all have anything before we kind of start getting into the closeout?
Well, and I just want to say again, I mean, and I'm not just saying this, I listened to this album a lot. I am very happy, and you guys knocked this one out of the park. And just the whole thing with Matt and Boone's Overstock, that was just awesome. The whole marketing thing. I know a lot of people, were excited about it. I hope the album does well for you guys. I know the music industry is nothing like it used to be. So I think, I just hope everyone goes to Boone's Overstock. And I know we'll have the link in the description where they can still, I know some of these bundles, they're still available. So anyone who likes Bride, please order those. Please get them. You will not be disappointed, guys. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, thanks.
I'd like to say to Troy, I mean, if you pass to your daughters how much I really appreciate the work that went into that paper and everything. I mean, it's just so special.
It is.
It's a really
I hated
cool.
to part with it. I really hated to part with it after we got all of it done and they put their touches on it and it came from part of them. I was like, maybe I should turn this over.
Why? I mean, it's like handing your baby over, like a child.
Yeah.
Literally brought it up from nothing, basically.
Yeah.
But, well, I will tell you this: it's in a good home because, as my late wife used to say, I never threw away anything. So
Good.
it stayed. I've got too much stuff, but it's here for good.
You can always bequeath it back to me when you're finished. Just let me know if I outlive you.
I'm gonna put a little what do they call those when you not alter, but in my will it'll
amend.
Thank you. I knew someone that does them word things would come up with something for me. But no, it's the whole thing was great, and it's I was even tempted at one point that if nobody buys that other bundle, I might buy the second one. But that might get some people in a little tizzy, but who knows?
Yeah.
George, did you tell Troy about the first time you saw Bride and you yelled out to Troy and what he did?
Uh-oh.
Well, actually, Dale actually filled me in on it because the only time I got to see you guys live is when I think you were touring Snakes at the time, and you were opening for Striper.
Oh, yeah.
It was up in they were doing the Against the Law tour at the time.
Yep.
And you guys were up at Derringer's up in New Bedford.
Yeah.
Long gone. And I remember Dale filled me in on this because I remember I yelled up. I saw you on stage. You were tuning the turquoise guitar, and I yelled, and you just kind of looked over. And Dale mentioned to me that night that you got a really bad knock on your nose or something. I don't know if it was a cabinet got you or something got you when you were loading stuff in or bringing it out. But
I was eating a Big Mac too fast, and the top of the Big Mac come down and hit him right now.
It was that clamshell luggage thing that is on the top that you can put on top of vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
And then it whacked me right in the nose. And yeah.
Well, he was saying in the email that, we were talking back and forth about it. He says, you were a trooper. You just acted like it didn't happen and went right on.
Yeah.
That was
but
a good show.
I will have to correct you real quick because the guitar that I was tuning wasn't my turquoise one because I didn't have it at the time. It was my orange Gretsch.
Really?
Still a big hollow body, but we hadn't been endorsed by Epiphone at the time. And I just had the guys in Striper for the second time when I saw them sign that guitar, because the first time they signed it, I'd since played it and their signatures were rubbing off. So I had them sign the back set. So that was actually my my orange Gretsch guitar at the time. Yep.
Well, what do they call that? That Mandela effect? That's
yeah. Yep.
I think it's because I've probably seen the turquoise one so many times. I just inserted that memory,
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's why doing a jury trial, you have to make sure that the jurors they don't have that problem, because it's that would be no, it was red, no, it was blue. What? Okay.
Yeah.
We're
So George, what happened? You yelled out to Troy, and what did he do?
Oh, he just looked at me like, who's yelling at me? And then he went back to tuning.
Like, what?
Dale and Troy, go ahead, George.
That's one of my biggest problems, though. I go to shows and I'll go to meetings and I'll try not to be the fanboy. It doesn't work. It doesn't. As a matter of fact,
that's the way I am. If I see a celebrity out in public, I'm always like, nobody impresses me. Oh, it's Tony Curtis, It's like, holy cow.
Well, Dale
Right.
and Troy, you guys have blessed us. Thank you for blessing us and allowing us for another interview. Thank you so much. And Rex, you got the message from home, brother?
Yes, I do. And the scripture that I came up with, it kind of using the band's name and thinking about something, and Revelation chapter 22, verse 17 kind of came to mind. And the scripture says, "The Spirit and the bride say, 'Come,' and let the one who hears say, 'Come.' Let the one who is thirsty come, and let the one who wishes take the free gift of the water of life." And I just think that's a good scripture for everyone to show God's wonderful gift, and that it's free, and all you have to do is accept it. He's waiting for you to come to him.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Amen.
Troy and Dale, thank you so much. It's been a blessing. Friends, the album is Are You Awake by Bride at boonsoverstock.com. Check the links in our description for the Bride links and for Boone's, and we'll sign off. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Everybody,
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.